Welcome back, all. Most importantly, I want to wish everybody a very happy holidays. Hopefully, you are all enjoying yourselves, having a great time. But you know what? It's always time to think about our New York Mets, to think about baseball. Baseball is always in the air, and I got a couple very interesting points that us Met fans should really think about, and something that I've been really thinking about, especially the last 30 days, 30 days in particular. We're gonna get to that momentarily. First, as always, if you can do us a huge favor and hit the like and subscribe, helps our channel grow. Plus, you don't miss out on any future videos. So we really appreciate that as always. Okay, so I'm going to get to a very important topic. And this is what I was kind of like rattling around the past couple of days. So if a Met fan woke up today, 4 years later, 2019, 4 years goes by, you really wouldn't know Steve Cohen owned the team. You really wouldn't. I think this offseason we invested $18 million, haven't really been interested, besides Yamamoto, and any other big level free agents, really. I mean, not that there's a lot of big level free agents out there, besides really Otani. I mean, we weren't really in the Soto trade aspect, at least this year, but it just doesn't really feel like we're a Steve Cohen owned team. It really doesn't. And this really all boils down to David Stearns being the new president of our baseball team. And the question is, or the question remains, how long does David Stearns has? How long does he have to turn this thing around and to make us into making us a consistent winner? Really, how long do we give the man? I mean, he has Steve Cohen's resources. He already has a decent core, but he's operating, I feel, just as he operated in Milwaukee. I don't think he's changed or skipped a beat from the way he operated that team. And I feel, you know what? Okay, in one respect, it's good because we're not putting on a lot of contracts that would weigh down the books for years to come. We're not acquiring older talent that doesn't really have much upside. So we're not sagging down the books. We're not acquiring guys who aren't really have not many good careers left, good years left on their career. So that's good. In the past couple of years, we weren't really acquiring the player that was going to be here long term, right? But as New Yorkers, most importantly, how long does David Stearns have? So I'll tell you really how long David Stearns has. In my estimation, he doesn't have long. This is New York City. He has the richest owner in all of Major League Baseball. So for the fans to really start getting on him, I'm saying they're going to give the guy to the trade deadline, right? We're going to weigh out the team. We're going to see how the young guys develop. We're going to see the pieces that he acquired. We're going to see if anybody is of real significance, and we're going to evaluate the way Stearns builds the rest of this ball club. We figure he's going to acquire another bat. He's probably going to acquire another arm. You hear Lucas Giolito. You don't know if he's going to make some type of surprise trade. Okay, all right, fine. We're not really impressed. Stearns, in my estimation, has around an F grade right now. If you want to be kind, maybe a D plus. Hasn't really acquired much talent. Doesn't really seem like the goal for 2024 is to acquire much talent. So for me to evaluate him on that doesn't seem the most fair, but I'm a fan and I want to win now, okay? They may know internally that the plan is more geared toward winning next year, but I evaluate it on a year-by-year basis. I still have the favorites up. These are the favorites to win the World Series in 2024. The top we have is the Dodgers. I apologize if it's backwards, but they are the odds-on favorite, no doubt about it, to win the World Series for 2024. Then you have the Braves. Then you have the Yankees. You go all the way down to the Mets. So has David Stearns improved the odds of the Mets winning the World Series in 2024? No, he hasn't. That's what I'm waiting for. Okay, so to get to how long David Stearns has before fans get on him, I believe it's going to be a couple months because New York Met fans, we want to win. And we were promised, we were sold a bill of goods that we were going to do everything in our team's realm of possibilities to win now and in the future. Okay. So that's my possibility. So if long term, if we bring this thing out, if we expand the horizon, Buck Showalter had a good 2 years. He had a good 2 years. And if you really look at it, he only failed in 1 year. So out of the 2 years, he was successful in 1 year and failed in the next. And he was fired. But he was fired more along the reasons why, for probably a difference of opinion, a difference of philosophy, and Steve Cohen never had his president in place. So you hire the president, therefore, in turn, will hire his guy's manager. So unfortunately, Buck was a victim, more or less, a victim of circumstances. So that really, I don't really, I'm not a fan of. Buck is a guy who was very knowledgeable about baseball, and I would want him managing my team any day, any day. But to get back to the situation, New York fans in particular, are not patient. Are not patient. We've been patient for a very long time, and now we are here and we want to win. We all want to win. So on my channel, we want to keep it as realistic as possible. Our goal on this channel is to always comment on reality. Comment on reality. The reality is right now, we haven't done much to put a team that is ready to win now, right? But I feel that that isn't really the ultimate goal. So how do you really evaluate David Stearns? As a fan, you're going to get upset if the team's not winning. But if David Stearns has a plan in place and only him and Steve Cohen and a few of the front office executives really know it, how is he really evaluated? Really, by fans critically, he'll be evaluated more critically. But by Steve Cohen and the guys who really know what's going on, they have the ultimate plan in place. So by the end of the day, if the goal is to win in 2026 and we're cutting payroll this year or not adding onto the payroll, yeah, we are doing that. We are doing that. But we're going to get an opportunity to really grade David Stearns going forward on his moves that affect 2025 and beyond. 2025 and beyond. So that an example of a move like that would be either to trade or sign Pete Alonso. We would be able to evaluate him on that. If we make any other trades that affect 2025 and beyond, then we could start evaluate him. But it's really, the answer is you can't really fairly evaluate a man who's really sticking to a plan that we don't know about. Those are the facts. Those really seem like the facts because we are doing no moves that's really geared toward winning. We're not. And if Steve Cohen and David Stearns are in a room together, not in front of any media or cameras or any content creators, they're probably saying, there is no way in hell we're going to be able to compete with a team like the Dodgers. The Dodgers are heads and shoulders better than us, pitching wise, hitting wise. Their farm system's in a better shape than ours. The whole organization is in a better shape. Yes, we can get lucky and things happen in the playoffs, and maybe that's what we may be setting ourselves up for this year. Maybe we're going to have a competent team, a team that's building around a core, a team that has a solid pitching staff, and if we get lucky, maybe we can make that magical run. But to invest in players that don't really give us really can't guarantee us to be that last piece. It's not worth mortgaging or investing that much in your future. It's really not. This season, the market is bare. When you look at the players on the market, really, there's nobody that's talented long term. We've seen players of the past like the Chris Bryant, who was very talented, and everybody was willing to give him like a $200 million contract. He's a former MVP. Yes, I love any team would love to have Chris Bryant. And we see Chris Bryant in the last couple of years has been horrible. And the list really goes on and on and on and on. Carlos Correa has really not lived up to expectations. Then there's other guys, like to a lesser extent, you have Javier Baez. But that year, 2 or 3 years ago, when you had all those shortstops and everybody was like, "Oh, I can't wait to get my hands on this guy," it just turned out to be a really huge bust, unfortunately. So it's really hard to really find. It's really hard to really figure out who you really want to sign. That's the bottom line. Who you really want to put your money in and invest in long term. Now, I'll tell you one thing. This is the key. This is the key to everything. And it's what baseball people have been saying for years and years. Now, I know there's lots of content creators, and I love it. I love all the content creators. But the name of the game, and a lot of people who have been fans of baseball for years and decades, they know at the end of the day, teams are built around pitching. Really, it's really built around pitching and timely hitting. That's how you're going to win. That's how you're going to win. There be teams that bludgeon their ways to win World Series? Yes, but over the long term, if you have a team that pitches and you have a team with timely hitters, you will be successful more often than not. You really will. I mean, like if you look at like how the Yankees built their dynasty, there weren't guys who hit 40 plus home runs. They weren't a team that was built like that. It was a team who hit clutch hitting. They had a dominant reliever, and they had a couple good starting pitchers built around Andy Pettit. And it was really, they had a really good core of good, solid players. And that's what the Mets really need to do. I mean, Pete Alonso is a really nice player, and I love Pete. I can't really imagine the Mets without a guy like Pete. And it's just, it kind of reminds me of when the Mets built around like Mike Piazza. And this is a good time. I want to thank my wife for, getting me a great Christmas present. Mike Piazza signed ball from the 2016 Hall of Fame game. And it's something that I really will treasure. So obviously we have that in the background. But, teams usually need an offensive player to build around. You need a good number 3, number 4 hitter, a guy who can strike fear into the opposing pitchers, a guy that the opposing pitcher has to really game plan around. So that's really important to have. Now, what I think is more important is that young group of core pitchers, guys who could just throw. And that's what Steve Cohen and David Stearns has to find. We need to find these young pitchers. Other teams have found them. They have found ways to eat up innings and get by. The Rays are phenomenal at that. The Dodgers, although they haven't gone deep in the playoffs in the last couple of years, they've been really successful at finding pitchers, at always developing pitchers. The Mets, they just have to do that. They need to develop pitchers. Now, going into next year, I say they at least need to find 2 or 3 pitchers in their farm system who could be serviceable or better. It would be phenomenal if you can find a guy in your farm system right now who you could fit into the rotation. I'm not sure how everybody's familiar with the guys like Mike Vassell, Dominic Hamill, Christian Scott, Blake Tidwell. Those are the guys, the pitchers who are more prominent. They're in the top 30, top 20 of the Mets farm. But if 2 of those guys turn out to be significant cogs in the Mets, either the bullpen or the rotation, that would help out tremendously. We're at a point in MLB history where pitching is so damn expensive. So damn expensive. And even if you can afford the pitching, as we've seen in the Yamamoto situation, there's no guarantee that the guy will even sign with you. So developing pitching is going to be the most optimal, and it is going to be the best thing a team could do at this point, because pitching is always going to cost a premium. It always has. It always will. It always has. It always will. It's a law of supply and demand. There's just not a lot of good, talented pitching. There's really not. And you need 5 on each team, at least 5 starting pitchers. 6, it seems like people are going to 6-man rotations. So you need 5 starters at minimum. And then you need at least 2 extra starters. So 7 or 8 starting pitchers for, if you're lucky, most likely you're going to go through 10, 11, 12 with injuries, but you need to have a lot of innings that need to be eaten, and you're going to need to have a deep farm system where you can bring up these guys, and not just 1 or 2. You need to have a farm system that is sustainable, where you have a whole stable of these young guys who can come up, eat up innings, and do different things, have different arm angles, lefties, righties, changing speeds, fireballers. You need variety. That's what David Stearns is trying to acquire right now. But, he's doing it at a bargain bin right now. And the level or opportunity for these guys to be successful is not going to really be there. If these guys were more or less guarantees, they would have been signed or scooped up by other teams other than David Stern. Hopefully, David Stearns could find a couple arms that other teams just look past, but the likelihood is not too high. So, all right, folks, this is what I got for you today. I just wanted to have a video where we kind of think about the future. So I want to round it off like this. I'm going to say David Stearns has 3 years, 3 years to turn this thing around. 3 years. Buckhead too. It takes a little longer for a president to get everything in place, and it seemed like the plan is already forfeiting that first year, right? So if you want to be fair, you give the guy at least 2 years. So by 25, 26, by 2027, we should be a sustainable winner and attractive for free agents to want to come. That's probably the goal. That's probably the goal. All right. By 2026, we should be winning. 2027, we should be a sustainable winner, hopefully vying for World Series after World Series. And that's my expectation. Would I love to do it earlier? Yes, I would. That's my expectation. But if I want to read the tea leaves and look at this logically, it doesn't look like the team is going in that direction. Drop a comment. Let me know what you see. Let me know what you think is happening right now with the New York Mets. And what would be your expectation? How much time does David Stearns have? How much time should you give him? All right. Thank you. As always, drop a comment, like, subscribe, share. Let's get this video out there. I cannot thank you enough. I appreciate you, every one of you. I don't care if you're a Dodgers fan, a Yankees fan. I love to hear your feedback as well. I actually do like to hear from other fan bases because, if we're a fan of another team, we could think a little more critically, a little more openly, and that's positive as well. Right? So thank you so much. I appreciate everyone. Have a great night, and I will speak to you soon. Between now and New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, I don't know how many videos we're going to have coming out, but you know what? After that, that's when the grind really picks up. That's when probably the majority of signings are going to take place, trades. So we're going to be covering that. Stick around, stay tuned. I will speak to you very soon. Have a great night, and again, continue to enjoy your holidays. Later.